Peacock decided that the pipeline from bedroom creator to box set supremo needed a formal application process, Peacock also looked at its streaming app, then looked at TikTok, and decided that the logical response must be to become TikTok, complete with AI presenter. FIFA also might just have admitted that FIFA Plus was never going to work. They've handed the keys to YouTube and they're calling it a clever distribution strategy. Right, we believe you. Mr. Beast solved the creator economy's scaling problem by turning his own fans into a paid clipping army and somehow made it sound completely rational. And Meta has decided the price of making Facebook relevant again, okay boomer, was exactly $3,000 a month for 3 months. And fingers crossed that the audience follows. Okay, without further delay, you know the drill. 5 stories, 5 minutes each. I'm Joe Redfern. He is
Ed Abbas. Here we go. The biggest events of the year are gold mines for publishers, and Display's new research shows you exactly how to cash in. We analysed over 30,000 comments across the US election, the World Cup, the Met Gala and more, uncovering 8 ways audiences engage, so you can package, price and sell your content and own the conversation, whether you have broadcast rights or not. Head to display.com insights to download Harness the Hype today. Right then, story 1. Tubi and TikTok have launched the Creatorverse Incubator. That sounds very swish, doesn't it? So Foxstone and Tubi have launched the Creatorverse Incubator with TikTok, and it's a formal pipeline for short-form creators to develop original scripted and unscripted series exclusively for Tubi. So TikTok are identifying creators, and then Tubi providing development support, and the first cohort will be announced this summer. What do you think, Joe?
Do you know what? On the face of it, it looks sensible by Tubi. But this kind of thing only works until it doesn't. Because the very reason that creators are called creators is because they've built audiences largely working from their bedrooms. Yeah. Because, you know, they set their own tone and the pacing and the format. It's worked pretty well. But as soon as you stick that within a production structure, which Tubi's bound to have, very often you lose the thing that made them a popular creator in the first place. Now, sometimes it does, you can make it work, but it's not been without difficulties. I mean, you look at Barstool Sports and John Boy, they all started that way, Mark Goldbridge as well. But I feel like this is happening so much now. Remember Sally Hodges coined creator slapping? Is this Tubi version of creator slapping? Rather than it being genuinely creator-led production and operational reality, are they just creator slapping?
But to counter that, Tubi are now starting to build a pretty sizable audience.
They are. They're one of the streaming services that's growing pretty well, actually.
Yeah, and then when you compare, I think Tubi was at 2.2% of the ad-supported streaming market. Now they're up to 6.2%, and then you compare that to Peacock that were coming after either that are around the 2% mark. So they've actually had significant growth. That said, I do understand your point around if you start forcing creators down this sort of TV model, and we've heard this. I'm trying to think who we had a conversation with about this, where they said as soon as you start getting pushed down this road of make content like TV, a lot of the creators get really, really frustrated because they lose their creativity.
Autonomy. Yeah,
their autonomy. And then you've got, we find this more and more now, so obviously Netflix have been leaning into creators, and Amazon's leaning into creators, and Peacock's leaning into creators. Like, if everyone starts doing this, and they're not just all doing the same thing in the end. Well, yeah, are they not just all doing the same thing in the end? So what's the point of differentiation if everyone just does the same stuff?
Yeah, and I was talking about this recently with somebody, because, I mean, Netflix has done similar in the sense that, particularly with their kids and family originals team, that they had quite a big team creating originals for Netflix. Yeah. They let more or less all of them go, apart from a very small number that stayed with it. Because really what Netflix did were like, hang on a minute, we can de-risk this. We'll sit back, we'll watch YouTube, and we'll wait for creators like Miss Rachel to build a proven audience on YouTube, and then offer them a deal once that they've iterated and they've built their communities, and all of that development risk is gone. So it feels like Tubi's perhaps following Netflix's lead. Let someone else fund the production, the experimentation phase, let them make all the mistakes and iterate, and then they'll acquire it only when it's been perfected, which, you know, it worked for Miss Rachel because she already had 10 million YouTube subscribers when Netflix went knocking on her door. It feels like Tubi is kind of saying to TikTok, we'll take them a little bit earlier, but then does that mean they're going to get half-formed formats? I don't know. That's the risk.
You can see why they're chasing it. I think I read that close to 70% of US consumers say that they find creators more authentic than traditional TV. So
I don't think that's exclusive to US consumers. I
No.
think if you spoke to any teenager in the UK, you'd get a similar response. I've read any number of reports that say similar. That, Gen Z, Gen A, they feel much more connected to creators than they do to traditional broadcasts, and in sports, traditional commentators and pundits. Which is why the aforementioned Mark Goldbridge is doing what he's doing, and the others. So it makes sense, but I think to your point, there's a limit to this. It kind of tips into just that. I'm just gonna keep saying creator slapping because it feels like a very apt way to describe it at the minute.
The one thing as well, the long game with this as well, is obviously if TikTok are doing this, at what point does TikTok turn around and say, I don't want to be your talent pipeline anymore, and actually I'm losing some of the best creators to essentially something that becomes a competitor? At what point do they say, nah, I'm all right with this, we're just going to keep them where they are, thank you very much?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. And they're already getting into supporting kind of micro dramas and those scrollable multi-episode vertical dramas, TikTok, so that would, they might want to keep them in the future.
Absolutely.
Rather than let them go to Tubi. Okay. Peacock. Talking of TikTok.
Here we go again.
Peacock has changed its app to scroll vertically, just like TikTok. They are all morphing into one, aren't they? Yeah. So Peacock, particularly with its Bravo, they've got 5,000 hours of content. We know that shorts and vertical videos, ESPN has got verts. I mean, everybody's got a vertical video play. But they've got 5,000 of hours of content that they think will work quite nicely vertically. And also, during the Winter Olympics, 20% of their shorts viewers converted into live stream audiences.
Which is crazy, right? That's driving tuning, which is the holy grail.
Really interesting. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Because that conversion rate is pretty good. That's punchy, 20%. So, I mean, validation if we needed it that short form is a funnel, can be a funnel. We've got a story coming up later that also would imply that that's how it's being seen.
Yeah.
So, I think what it tells me, I mean, certainly when I'm thinking about sports, is there needs to be much more focus and science put around clips and vertical in terms of how it could be potentially a conversion into other platforms. I mean, you can even stream vertically live on YouTube now. They've rolled out a product where you can stream live vertically and it re-enters the frame. I saw an example of that when we were at Sports Pro Media in Madrid back end of last year by YouTube. Pretty good stuff. If you can move 1 in 5 of those casual vertical scrollers to a live product, that starts making shorts look really compelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I mean, what's clear is, I mean, I think that's the point, right? I think vertical for me only works when it is short. And I think the thing that tells me that is the case, when you see the stats around YouTube and long form, that 50% of people are now watching on TVs and laptops and bigger screens than a phone, that suggests to me that long form actually needs to be the other way around rather than the short itself. But like you said, but the two things work together. So when you see now what YouTube are doing with shorts alongside the long form stuff, it connects the dots and it all makes sense, right? But I think like I said, the clever bit here is the fact that, for the Winter Olympics, NBC are saying that, or Peacock are saying that ultimately they were taking people back to their own platform.
Yeah.
So going from, which we talk about a lot, which is like renting reach to owned and operated, there'll be a lot of people looking at that going, right, how do we take that and replicate it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it almost feels like, well, we've said this before, everything is homogenizing. Everybody's going to have a vertical play. Everybody's going to have, I mean, they need to stop looking at shorts and long form in isolation. But again, God, I've spoken till I'm blue in the face about ecosystem strategy and how you march your consumers around your ecosystem, thinking about how you service their need state at each one. Well, maybe this is a nod to that.
Yeah, look, and I think you know, they're not the only ones that are doing a lot of vertical stuff. The BBC have been doing it across certainly BBC Sport and BBC News now for a couple of years, at very least.
Yeah.
When you scroll down, you can see the vertical videos. The thing I really like about this as well is this new ad format they've effectively created, where they've AI cloned Andy Cohen. For anyone who doesn't know who Andy Cohen is, he's the host of Watch What Happens Live, and also he's the creator of the Real Housewives franchise, which is what most people will have heard of. And they've effectively cloned his voice to be able to turn it into a brand vehicle during these videos, effectively, so your brand can basically get shout-outs by him. Which, again, is another monetizable way. So I quite like that, 'cause I think it's quite creative, and they're not trying to pretend that he's not AI, right? So when you're not trying to pretend, I think it's perfectly fine.
And also, isn't this just an AI version of the old continuity announcer?
Absolutely.
It all comes back round, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Before we go on to the next story, though, can we just say the first two stories, Tubi has launched this Creatorverse incubator, and then we're just looking at this Peacock headline feature, which is your Bravoverse. Can we stop giving things the verse suffix? In the week that Meta's killed its metaverse ambitions, let's stop giving everything.
Maybe it is the end of verse. Maybe that is the point.
Enough of the verses already. Okay.
Right then, so next story is about FIFA and not TikTok. So at least we managed to veer away from TikTok for at least.
And there's no verse in this one.
And there's no verse in this one, as far as we're aware. So FIFA and YouTube. So look, hot off the heels of, I always pronounce Kaze TV wrong. So do you want to pronounce it properly?
That's right.
Oh, is it right then? I usually get it wrong. That happened last year, where ultimately Kaze TV got the exclusive rights to stream the World Cup for FIFA in Brazil. They've now gone one step further, and they've basically given YouTube the moniker of preferred platform for 2026 for the World Cup. We are yet to see what that entails, but the headline thing here is that 10 minutes of every match is going to be streamed live on YouTube, plus extended highlights, shorts, and select full matches. It's going to be interesting to see, are they looking at exactly what Peacock did around the Olympics? Like, are they looking to how do they drive tuning? Because I think for me, it's one thing when you create content that's compelling and interesting to drive tuning. It's another thing going, you can watch 10 minutes now, stop, you can't watch it anymore. Does that start to annoy people rather than do what it's intended to do?
I'm going to read out in a minute some comments that I saw on a subreddit.
Oh, go for it.
On r/soccer, there were some brilliant comments. I'll read them out in a minute. But, I mean, preferred platform. I'm doing the little air quotes and eye rolling.
Special.
Who were just listening.
Special platform.
This is a concession dressed up as a partnership. There you go. That's my thought.
Yeah.
This is FIFA going, well, FIFA Plus didn't work. And now we're going to claim that we're all over YouTube and we're really forward thinking. And genuinely, I am going to read some of the Reddit quotes.
Oh, you should.
This, really, it's not FIFA driving to FIFA Plus, so I think they've already acknowledged defeat on that one.
Well, they did. They did, didn't they, when ultimately they decided to do what they did with DAZN for the Club World Cup.
Well, there you go, yeah. Yeah. So really, this is just FIFA protecting its own broadcast partners' revenue. But, I mean, really, that just means that YouTube's a promotional layer for the broadcasters who've already paid. I don't know. That's how, when I was reading it, that's what I took from it. Maybe I'm
a retrofit and an answer to the question, how are you going to help us to drive... How are you going to drive to our broadcast when everyone's going on YouTube to watch all manner of other stuff?
Exactly. Anyway, I'm on this Reddit thread. Why would I watch only the first 10 minutes of a game on YouTube? What is the point of this? And then somebody put, literally just to make people want to watch and have to pay for what other service is showing the full game. Now, of course, some people are going, oh, well, it's free on the BBC in the UK. And then someone else put, yeah, well, I don't think they realise that I'm already watching it on YouTube. Shh. Which I thought was hysterical. Yeah, there was some really, quite scathing. A lot of them had swear words in. A lot of the comments. But I mean, always go to Reddit when you want an honest read on something.
And also, when any of these kind of things are ever announced that do, in a sense, look a bit different, people will always pile in and go for the negative first and have a bit of a go at it, right? So it'd be interesting to see. as they get closer and closer, when they start to sort of explain to us exactly what they're going to be doing this, where they're going to be doing it, who were they working with to do it, to get the distribution, because is this just going to be on FIFA channels? Are they going to be working with other channels to distribute as well?
The broadcaster channels apparently get it on their own.
Okay.
And some will have select live matches, but I guess, again, that would have already been negotiated in the deals when the deals were done.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, I'm assuming FIFA's going to want to champion some big numbers after it, because that's going to make FIFA look good. But if it does that, then what stops the Premier League, the Champions League? All of the leagues really are going to be forced to follow suit. Do you not think?
Absolutely, and the reality is they're trying to drive more value for FIFA partners and sponsors, right?
Yeah.
And because they're not necessarily getting. Interestingly, right? I've written a post already for LinkedIn that's coming out in the next couple of days. So I'm doing it when we're recording this and when I've released it. I saw a really good panel from South by Southwest about a week ago. Rhett and Link, who are yeah. I'm glad you knew they were.
Yeah.
You always do. Talking about how, so they reckon that 50% of all digital video content now created is created by creators, not media companies, but only 1.5% of ad budgets is going towards it. That came from their own panel. And someone else said on that same panel that for the first time in 100 years, the ad money is not necessarily following where the majority of content is being distributed. I.e., it's followed radio, and it's followed newspapers, it's followed TV, but it's not necessarily following creators at the same pace that it followed all of those places. So is this part of the answer to that question going, we know the audience is somewhere else other than where we want them to be, so we have to do something, but we're so tied into all of our different broadcast deals at the moment that this is the best we can do right now?
I don't know about that ad money claim, though, because you look at a lot of. I'm thinking of Evan Shapiro when I watched him recently do his keynote at Mid London.
Yeah,
he's got a slide in his deck about where the ad money is going, and a lot of ad spend is being diverted towards YouTube and creators. Now it's a whole different ecosystem there. CPMs and RPMs all different. So I don't necessarily know about that. I'd have to do some homework on that one. But
well, I went down that rabbit hole for the whole entire weekend and still didn't get a massive amount of clarity. But I've written what I've written, and I'm gonna stand by it because other people said it. But cool.
Interesting, because the next story is kind of related. So Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast, the poster child, the OG creator. But maybe, I don't know. I think he's maybe got too big. Anyway, personal views aside, he's launched Viro, this platform. He's launched quite a few platforms and different products before. This is a platform where anyone can clip his long-form videos into shorts and post them. And then he's paying money per view. So he's offering up to $300,000 in payout. There's not necessarily a huge audience required or a channel needed. You just need to upload. So he's basically flooding the space. And it's saying top clippers on similar platforms, they can make quite a lot of money. I mean, a lot of this stuff is automated, right?
Yeah.
So he's basically offering his content as raw material and he's outsourcing that mass distribution. Whilst the scale potential is huge, you could argue, well, why does he need more scale? And that is almost because he is about as big as you can get.
Yeah.
There was another story recently about him buying subscribers in really low CPM markets. So, but that actually it dilutes your brand and it dilutes your revenue. He's only able to do that and sustain because he's got revenue sources from multiple. So he's fine. It's not a strategy I would advocate, going and buying subs from cheap markets.
And he's so commercial, right? And he's got so many commercial deals going on that he's got so much inventory he needs to deliver. He's part of the reason why he's doing this, right?
Yeah. And I mean, so this I'm kind of torn on because I don't necessarily think it has an application outside of someone the size of Mr. Beast, because you're basically just buying the cheapest scale that you can. And he's only able to sustain it because he's already so massive. It's not a strategy for growth for smaller creators.
See, so essentially, Mr. Beast is building an army of micro-influencers, right? Which, at face value, I like the sound of. And I must admit, I'm a big advocate for trying to find micro-influencers that can take your content and put their own spin on it. But again, it feels like it's going to be... Is it a Sally Hodges one? It's just going to be some kind of slapping of stuff on stuff. Most of this content is probably going to be utter crap. And is anyone going to be necessarily interested? Or is that going to start to, dare I say, switch people off on Mr. Beast and get people to be fed up of content from him?
Yeah, that's the risk, isn't it?
Because there's no curation there, right? You're not being I don't think there's no approval process. You just go in, you do it, and that's fine.
So you're giving away any kind of control or approval just for pure scale and flooding the market. And I don't necessarily think that works. And if we apply it to sport, originally I'm thinking, well, this actually could help distribute content for sport. You know, distributed influence, you spread it around. You don't necessarily need 5 creators when you can have 55,000 if you just let them do it. But one, sports rights holders and federations tend to be slightly more protective about their brand. And 2, again, like we talked about with creator slapping, if everybody does it, it's just a tsunami of similar clips just flooding the market, and that goes sour very quickly. So yeah, interesting play by him. I'm not massively convinced that his strategy is one for new up-and-coming creators to follow. It's mainly because he is about as big as you can get, so he's having to try everything to continue his growth trajectory and maybe raise money. So
yeah, that makes sense. And again, this is a business that he's invested in ultimately.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, so yeah. It's not necessarily his business, but it's one of those that's probably come along. It's an opportunity. He's pushing it, widening the audience. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and a lot of his platforms are creator tools. So he has to kind of champion them and use them before other creators are going to come on board. Yeah. He's got his View Stats platform, which does the same.
Yeah. Well, good luck to him. All right, then. So, speaking of paying creators with cash to get reach, so Meta are now paying creators to come back to Facebook. There we go.
Oh, God.
So they've launched their own creator fast track where they're guaranteeing monthly payments to lure established creators from TikTok and YouTube to Facebook. What I'm not quite sure of is if they lure you across, they pay you, does that mean you have to stop on their toes? Is it just extra cash? I wasn't entirely sure on that.
Lord, he knows.
Yeah.
I mean, God, does anybody under 60 go on Facebook anymore?
Only to see when it's people's birthdays. No, I'm joking. Yeah, but the thing is, like, I mean, I go on there because ultimately I have family members who, that's the only place they go on and do anything. Right, so that, I mean, that's part of the reason I go on there, but I know exactly what you mean. So these payments run for 3 months, after which creators keep boosted reach and access to Facebook's monetization tool. So you get that guarantee for 3 months as long as you've got a certain scale. So that's like only creators with 100,000 followers earn this money. Those over 1 million are the ones who earn 3,000. I have seen a few comments around LinkedIn the last couple of days as well saying that creators are spending way more than this on creating good content, and this is not going to touch the sides in terms of funding any of what they're doing. So there's been a healthy degree of scepticism, but there will be plenty that will probably pile in and do it and take the cash in the short term because it's a bit of extra cash on top of everything else they're doing.
Where are these creators coming from is my first question, because as we've seen, back to the old Mr. Beast, you can... a creator can move platforms, and in his case he went to Amazon. Now the second season of Beast Games has been a lot more successful than first, but you cannot count on the fact that the audience follows the creator across platforms. And again, I go back to, are people really going to go back and embrace Facebook in big numbers? I literally go on it once a month, just to see whose birthday it's been.
Yeah. And also, there's an assumption there that a lot of these creators, because I think you've got to not already exist on Facebook as well. So there's an assumption that they don't already exist, but surely a lot of these will have had some kind of cursory presence on there, even if they're not doing a great deal with it already. The criteria that you've got to meet to go and do it. I mean, part of me thinks is it just some kind of ruse to actually make a lot of noise around the fact that we are paying creators too, because there's just so many other people doing it, but. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, jury's out on that one. I think, Let Facebook be Facebook. Let your gran stay on there. They're having a lovely time.
Wow. Harsh.
Everybody else is moving on. Interesting, Ed, that of our 5 stories, creators, 4 out of 5.
Anyone would think we curated it.
And Peacock, we're essentially talking about TikTok.
Yeah,
So-
true. Which is crazy.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's probably the first time that we've had that many stories. But then in my head, I'm thinking, this is, God, how long have we been talking? I mean, as long as I've known you, we've spoken about the creator economy and where attention is flowing and ad dollars flowing behind it. I wonder if it feels like we're in the middle of the gold rush now. And everybody is rushing. You know, creators are going to save us. We need a creator strategy. I'm worrying it's going a bit too far.
I know what you mean, and I don't think there's a massive coincidence that all these things came out in the last week when it was South by Southwest last week.
This is true.
So these where a lot of these big announcements would have been made. For anyone who doesn't know South by Southwest, the original is in Austin, Texas, and like I said, it was last week. So I think a lot of these things will have been. It's almost become a little bit like the TV upfronts for sort of the creator and content marketing world now.
That's
so
true.
These
Lots
will
of
all
announcements.
yeah, these will have all come around in the last week because of that, essentially.
Good point.
So actually, we haven't curated it. It's totally by accident and because of South by Southwest. But I think you're right. Yeah, I think we're massive advocates for the way that content creation, content marketing's gone, and I'm also a massive advocate for working with creators because I think they give a unique distribution point.
Oh, undoubtedly. But as we made a point in last week's episode when we were talking about Jessa and Chicago Bulls, and we had someone from the Chicago Bulls email us saying that they'd heard the episode and saying thank you. The very point we made there is that the creators have to be invested. They have to be fans themselves. They really need to get behind it and get stuck in, as Jessa did, plonking himself on the court in the middle of all those kids. That feels much more native. My concern is there are only so many creators to go around that will have that level of connection and authenticity. The rest will just take the paycheck and show up. And that, again, most fans and particularly most young people will be able to see through that a mile away. So at some point it starts being disadvantageous and the creator is not the answer to everything. But
dare we use the word authentic?
I know.
Is often what gets thrown in. I know you were trying to avoid using that then, but I couldn't help it.
I know. I'm trying to figure out another word.
It just popped into my head as you said it. I couldn't help it. But that's the reality, right? I think the audiences do see through that.
They do.
So please, everyone, don't burst this bubble. Do try and be a bit more discerning about your partnerships. Do try and work with people who have a genuine passion for what you're doing.
Absolutely, 100%. Why wouldn't you? I think sometimes it's just a function of lack of time or lack of creative thinking or laziness. Brief your agency, go and find a creator. I've ticked that box on my OKRs.
Right, I think that's us.
We are done. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Attention Shift. Give us a like and subscribe. Send us some feedback. You can email us on hello@attentionshift.media. And he has been...
Ed Abbas. I had to think about that. Sorry.
I've been Joe Redfern. Thank you for tuning in.